Get the love back! Here is your winner of the latest patron poll, Fist of the North Star, Ken's Rage 2, released in 2013 for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Wii U. It's been quite a while since our last Fisty Fiesta, and with Lost Paradise releasing soon, the timing could hardly be better. Ken's Rage 2 was released in Japan in 2012 as Shin Hokuto Muso, a sequel to a predecessor titled simply Hokuto Muso. The Muso part gives away that it's part of Koei Tecmo's Muso franchise, which began with Sangoku Muso, aka Dynasty Warriors, then continued with Sengoku Muso, Samurai Warriors, and Muso Orochi, our Warriors Orochi. Over the years, the Muso formula has also been applied to a number of licensed properties, including Gundam, One Piece, Dragon Quest, and of course, Hokuto no Ken, Fist of the North Star. Compared to the original Ken's Rage, which many found sluggish, Ken's Rage 2 is significantly slimmed down and sped up. More interesting, at least to me, is how much of the Fist of the North Star story it encompasses. Like most Hokuto no Ken video games, Ken's Rage 1 ended in the climactic battle with Rao. Ken's Rage 2, on the other hand, covers the manga almost from end to end, including the Imperial, Shura, and final stories, skipping over only a few minor arcs along the way. No other Fist game to date has been as comprehensive a treatment of the source material. The Ken's Rage games don't have the best of reputations. Both received poor to middling reviews and don't seem to be well regarded by Muso fans. Perhaps because I'm more of a Hokuto fan than a Muso one in general, the objections kind of go over my head, and I find the Rages to be a pretty good time. I'll let you be the judge as we make our way through this very thorough adaptation of Kenshiro's many adventures, exploding countless heads along the way. Alright, let's get this show on the road. There are two main game modes here. There's Legend Mode, which is the standard story mode following along with the manga, as the text there says. And then there's Dream Mode, which says play all new stories based on characters from the manga, which is not strictly accurate. In Ken's Rage 2, all it really does is give you some slightly different perspectives on the main story. It is hands down inferior to Dream Mode in Ken's Rage 1, which actually brought up some interesting what-if type scenarios. What I may do with that in mind is, if this hasn't dragged on too long by the time we finished up with Legend Mode, I may do some omake of Dream Mode in Ken's Rage 1, because it is just so much better. I don't even think Dream Mode in Ken's Rage 2 is really worth bothering with. And this is speaking as someone who generally prefers the second game, but yeah, we'll see how that goes when we get close to that point. For now, our concern is Legend Mode.
Toki wa seiki matsu. 世界は最終戦争の豪華に包まれた。海は枯れ、地は裂け、あらゆる生命体が絶滅したかに見えた。だが人類は死滅していなかった。世は再び暴力が支配する時代になっていた。
リーダー、偵察隊の奴らが何者かに。誰がこんなことを。チードのメンバーと知ってのことか。
チード、それにしても死体が変だ。全部体の内部から破裂したような感じだ。
チード、まだ息がある。
何があったんだ。北斗。
間前
What is Hokuto indeed? This is going to be our little tutorial mission. Tutorial windows will be popping up in a moment, and we'll follow along with those as they do. Alright, our weak attack, also called the normal attack here, is the square button, and as it says, you can repeatedly press that to put a combo together. The weak attack, you can follow that up with strong attacks. You can press a strong attack alone, but starting out with it has a really slow startup, so I generally try to avoid that. There are a number of different variations depending on how many times you press square together before the strong button, and some of them are more useful in some situations than others, so let's start exploring those now. First thing we'll do is just a 5-hit string of normals, which will get you a lot of rapid punches that way. With one press of square before the strong attack, you get those series of high kicks, which is pretty good against single opponents. With 2 presses of weak, you get that big circling kick, which is great for crowd control. Oh, I screwed it up there. 1, 2, 3... Damn it, I gotta get this right. And the next one. 1, 2, 3... Sends you rocketing forward with a flying kick, which is good for taking out a line of enemies. And now we just administer some beatings. My timing's a little bit off right now because I've just been playing a bunch of Ken's Rage 1 in order to unlock the various dream modes if we decide to do that. And the pace of Ken's Rage 1 is much slower. I'm one of the folks who does feel that Ken's Rage 1 is a little on the sluggish side, so I do prefer the way this game handles, but I've got some muscle memory from Ken's Rage 1 going right now, so I'll have to get used to it. There we go.
先ほどはありがとうございました。おかげで水を無事に届けられました。どうぞこちらへ。ささやかですが、お礼をさせてください。
And this is explaining what the health meter is. I don't think we need any explanation of that. Ah, yes. It does regenerate up to a specific point if you just manage to keep your nose out of trouble for a while. This is something that was not in Ken's Rage 1. There was no regenerating health in that. I would say that Ken's Rage 2 is overall a bit easier. Some of the boss fights in Ken's Rage 1 are an absolute bitch.
ずいぶん喉が渇いている様子。町から水を取ってきます。少しお待ちを。
Item chests. These also work a little different from the way they do in Ken's Rage 1. In this, you have to walk up to them and press a button to open them. In Ken's Rage 1, they were crates that got smashed open, which would sometimes lead to you collecting an item by accident. It's a little tougher for that to happen in this one, which I do think is an improvement. And there's some life up for us. You can control your direction, turn a little bit as you do a combo, which is really handy. That's another thing that didn't work as well in Ken's Rage 1. Once you started attacking in a direction, you weren't totally committed to it, but you couldn't turn on a dime mid-combo the way you can in this one.
仲間をよくもやってくれたな。俺たちジードに逆らう奴は皆殺しだ。
And here we find our first commander. There are various types of commanders, some of which require slightly different tactics to deal with. This is just a big, strong guy, nothing really special about him. We've just got a few Zako-type bandits left, and then we can focus our attention on the commander. There we go, it's all down to the big guy. And because this is a tutorial, he doesn't really have all that much health for a mini-boss. Well, they're not really even mini-bosses, they're just slightly stronger enemies. What I just hit there was the X button, which is the default for dodge. Very handy. And holding down L1 is the other means of avoiding injury. That is just to block, and you can kind of strafe around as you block. One or two more combos ought to do it. There we have it.
遅い男に俺様が押されるなんて。
北斗神拳の前に敵はいない。今の悲鳴は。
Here we have the experience system. Ken's Rage 2, or Ken's Rage 1 rather, used an almost sphere grid from Final Fantasy X kind of system. This one just automatically levels you up depending on your actions.
Samara.
Whoa, we're gonna have to take out 100 dudes this time. And amazingly, that is not a particularly big deal for Kenshiro. Special move. These weren't really in Ken's Rage 1, and I've kind of forgotten how they work, so we will rediscover those together. This just lets you know that when you hit damage upon an enemy, especially with your heart attacks, they may enter Vital Point Shock. And when that happens, you can hurt them more than usual. It can also happen to you, and you become really vulnerable if an enemy, generally a boss, puts you into Vital Point Shock. That's a time you gotta really be careful. Ah, okay, that's our special attack. Good old Hokuto Zankai Ken. That was a super in Ken's Rage 1. So I'm certain it's not nearly as effective in this game. But it looks like it might be pretty good for dealing with single enemies. I'll have to experiment with that as we go along. Hokuto Zankai Ken, by the way, is the Fist of the North Star, Fist of Remorse. But we'll be seeing that in the story scene later, so we'll hold off on explaining it for until then. Let the game take care of that. That big sweeping kick is so wonderful for crowd control. It doesn't even look like it, but I believe it also hits behind you. Or maybe that was just a Ken's Rage 1 thing. I've got a lot in my head from that recent playthrough of the game. So, the differences between 1 and 2 are something else that we will rediscover together. The biggest difference is just how much faster Ken's Rage 2 is. Being able to better redirect yourself in mid-combo is another very welcome addition. Head popping does tend to work up a bit of a thirst.
ありがとう。
早く鍵を。何をグズグズしてんだ。てめえだってこの村に盗みに入ったんだろうが、早く逃げねえと殺されちまうぞ。このクソタコ、何しやがるんだ。
すまんが水をもう一杯くれんか。
てめえ一体何を考えて。
お前が逃げたらあの子はどうなる。
こんな時代に何を甘いこと言いやがる。なあ、正直に言えよ。てめえだってどっかでこの村の噂を聞いてきたんだろ。この村には水がある、食料もたっぷりある。力のあるやつがこれを奪い、そして生きていく。暴力が支配するんだ。なあ、あんた名前は？
ケンシロウ。
俺と組まねえか。けっ、バカ野郎、気取りやがって。返事ぐらいしろよな。なんだよおい、食料まで。
ありがとう。生き返ったよ。でも大丈夫か、こんなことをして。俺はケンシロウ、お前は。
こいつは耳は聞こえるけど喋れねえんだ。もっとも無理はねえけど、親兄弟を野党に目の前で殺されちまったんだ。身寄りがない上、村では厄介者扱いでよ。生まれてこなかった方が良かったんだ。
辛いか。
Now let's see, where's the on switch? There it is.
おい、何のまでだよ。
あとは彼女の心次第だ。心の叫びが言葉を刺す。
さて、長老が変えられた。調べろ。ジードの一味だったら体のどこかにジードの入れ墨があるはずだ。北斗七星、死を司る星。不吉な北斗現れるところ、乱あり。
大変だ。ジードだ。ジードのやつらが。リンも来い。お前も戦うんだ。
あいつ完全にお前に惚れちまったぜ。 じゃなくみんな殺した。あれくそ。村の連中なんかフリード相手に1分も持ちゃしねえ。お前はここにいる。待てって。
So, those 7 scars on Ken's chest that the Elder referred to as the Stars of Hokuto, you may have recognized those as being in the shape of the Big Dipper, which is the actual meaning of Hokuto. It translates to the Big Dipper, not actually to the North Star. So the title in English is not a strictly accurate translation, but I do think Fist of the North Star sounds better than Fist of the Big Dipper, so I don't blame them at all for going with it. A little explanation of the scroll system here. We'll talk about that a little more when we have access to one of the caryatids. In brief, scrolls are how you power up, and you have a fair amount of flexibility in how you do it. In addition to regular leveling, that is. Ah yes, there are charge attacks off the hard punch. I'll show off one of them, but it's a really slow startup. Like, even just tapping a strong attack before doing a combo is slow to start up, and charging it is going to, of course, be even slower, so I pretty much never use this. We can also grab. There's one of those charge attacks. Very potent, as you can see, but so slow. And there's the grab in action. Also something I don't tend to use very often. And there we get our first level up in the attack category. And one in defense. I'm not sure what I got that for, actually. We're supposed to be protecting the villagers, so I should really start doing that. Don't want to forget about the commander either, that wasn't very wise of me. Over the course of the game's many chapters, there are sub-missions like this keep the villagers from getting killed. Most of them are fairly simple, but there will no doubt be some that give me fits, but I won't worry about them too much. Since everyone stayed alive here, we got the A rank for the submission. Here's another one in which we have a timer to beat up as many enemies as we can. Or should I say explode? I mean, beating up does technically happen. But it seems a little bit of an understatement considering what Hokuto Shinken actually does to people. Oh, there you are. That big half-moon kick, since it is such good crowd control and we're going to be in crowds most of the time, that's going to be my bread and butter combo for the most part. You will definitely be seeing a lot of it, but I will mix things up a little just to keep things interesting and as the situation demands. You can probably guess why I find the combination of Fist of the North Star and the Muso formula to be a very good one. Not too many characters in media that you could imagine taking on this many people this effectively. But for Kenshiro, it's just another day. Oh, D rank, not very good at all. Ken's Rage 1, as I replayed it recently, it struck me that it was extremely strict on rankings. It's looking like this one is pretty strict too. And these are the caryatids, which are save points and also allow you to allot your scrolls. So we will now see how that works. And our first scroll is a life up scroll. The last time I ran this game, I remember my first scroll being a strength one, so it does appear they are fairly random. Here's a quirk of the save system. Let's equip that scroll. This is going to be a level 1 scroll, which means it just increases our life a little bit. We'll get higher level ones as the game goes along. And some of them impart skills as well. We'll see that eventually. As it says here, you can equip up to 5 scrolls. And if you have 2 scrolls where some of the abilities line up, like in the illustration there, if you had a fist one for attack above another attack one, then you would get a bonus to that statistic. You can do an insane amount of optimization and min-maxing with these. I'm not going to worry about it too much. And there's our life scroll equipped. Might as well drop a save. No reason not to. We'll start a new one. I found the on switch.
その子を離す。
And here we get a quick explanation of boss battles, which work about as well as you'd expect, but one thing that is important to keep in mind here is that, yeah, if you don't keep the pressure on, they can slowly regenerate their health up to a certain point, so you don't want to hang back too much. And by default, when you're in a boss fight, the camera turns automatically to keep the boss in view. Sometimes if you're looking for items, that can be a bit in the way, so fortunately you can turn it off when you need to. This boss only has a handful of minions, which is not something you can count on throughout the game. What have we got over here? A lovely baguette. That's the lowest ranking of the food items, and we really don't need to restore any health right now, but fortunately there's a nice big green glow over it so we can find it easily if we need to. There's nothing much to Zed, really. He was the first named enemy that Ken encountered in the manga, and he's the first enemy of significance that we encounter here in the game. Those divisions at the bottom on the boss's health meter, Whenever you get one of those all the way down, that usually indicates the boss is going to transition to a new form, or at least get some new attacks. And in this case, he was also able to summon some more minions. I think in his second stage, Zeed's attacks really don't change all that much. If at all. But we are definitely going to encounter a great many bosses that get way more dangerous as their health meter goes down. A lot of bosses also defend very well. With a bunch of attacks, or with a couple of strong attacks, you can break down bosses' guards. But Zeed's not really all that good at defending anyway. Again, tutorial boss pretty much. He does have some health on him though, doesn't he? Looks like he has an infinite supply of minions, which is probably the main thing that his second form changes. We've almost got him down to the third and final one, though. Something else I'm noticing on getting back to Ken's Rage 2 after playing a bunch of 1 is that the enemies overall aren't quite as aggressive. The original Ken's Rage had a bit of a stun lock problem. Enemies could just ping-pong you back and forth between them. Not so much an issue in this game, which is a relief, because it's no fun to lose your complete control over the game. What happened to that food? I know in Ken's Rage 1, power-ups would never disappear if you left them alone for a long period. That may be different in this one. That's water, that increases your aura. Aura is your supers, pretty much. Right now we have only one, the Hokuto 100 Crack Fist, the legendary Atatatata attack. But I'm just going to save it for now and beat Zeed the normal way. We will have plenty of opportunity to play around with supers. There was a case of me breaking down Zeed's guard. That appears to be the big difference in his third form here. He does get more defensive. But little by little, we're getting his health down. It would go much faster if I used my super, but we're gonna let the plot kick in on that one before I use it in battle. Another big difference in Ken's Rage 2 is that you can dodge out of a combo sometimes in that. For the most part in Ken's Rage 1, if an enemy started comboing you, you would be stuck with it for the length. And some of their combos could take a while. So this is another way, in addition to the lesser stun blocking by normal enemies, that Ken's Rage 2 speeds things up a little. Here we go. Press circle when an enemy's down, and you go into finisher time. The 100 Crack Fist of the North Star. This in the manga continuity was also where it happened the first time, and if I'm not mistaken, it was one of only 2 times he actually used it in canon, despite how iconic it is.
北と現れるところ、乱ありと言ってな。剣は我々のために、この村のために出て行ったのじゃ。
I did take more hits there than I really needed to, partially by screwing around with Zed a little more than I had to, so I didn't get a particularly good damage sustained there. Took quite a bit of damage, really. But, reasonably decent rankings and everything else. This is definitely better than I would have gotten in Ken's Rage 1, I'm pretty sure, under the same set of circumstances, so this game is probably a little more lenient about its rankings. And depending on our overall ranking, we can get a couple of extra scrolls. One for attack and one for defense. And in addition to doing so at Caryatids, we can change our equipped scrolls between chapters. And there's our first trophy. Eviscerate, no shit. Because all of these scrolls have a separate statistic on them, we don't have an opportunity to create any nexuses yet. There will be plenty of opportunity for that down the road. Might as well update our save. And on we go.
助けてくれ。わしはこの種もみをどうしても村に届けねばならんのじゃ。この種もみが実を結べばあんたらにも分けてやろう。それまで待ってくれ。
なおさらその種もみを食いたくなったぜ。
行こうぜ。関わり合うことね。あ、バカ。
この種もみを届けるまでは。
We are plunged back into action once again, to defend a helpless townsperson, which is a big part of what Kenshiro does. Looks like we've got the treasure over here. I'll quickly yoink that. We have got a health meter for the old man, so we are going to need to rescue him before that completely drains away. But that shouldn't be too much trouble. Especially given I'm actually trying to play effectively now instead of demonstrating things. Okay, just 20 more to go. Yeah, not only is there less stun locking in this game, you don't get stunned as much in general when the enemies hit you. Old man's still doing alright. B rank, could be worse. Ah, yes. There are only a few different types of items that you can get in this. There are steel girders and utility poles, as it says. I think there are also spears that you can sometimes pick up. But when you have collected an item, you can use the weak attack button to swing it, or the strong button, as it says here, to throw it. Now, let's see. Since it says that, there should be one around here somewhere. Not actually seeing it. Oh, okay, it's talking about the utility pole, so we'll have to knock that down first. Oop, the button changed too. Come on, Ken. Oh, I think it disappeared on me. Oh well, we won't have any shortage of it. Oh, there it is. I'm just kind of mixing in with the shadow. I was going to say we'll have... I have to get used to the button change. Oh, and I was wrong. It looks like you can only throw it in this one. You could swing them in Ken's Rage 1. Although that was very slow and not entirely practical, so I suppose it's not a big loss if they remove that. As you can tell, it's been quite a while since I replayed Ken's Rage 2. But that's okay, because it will throw the areas in which it changed from its predecessor into stronger relief. Predecessor? I can pronounce things. As you can see, thrown objects are very strong. But it takes a little while to hoist and throw them, so you do make yourself kind of vulnerable. And here is our second named villain after Zeed, Spade. Now, I am going to bring out my cheat sheet now because there's no way I remembered this title off the top of my head. In Japan, there's a book titled Hokuto no Ken Kyukyokyu... Let's try that again. Hokuto no Ken Kyukyokyu Kaisetsuo Seikimatsu Hao Retsuden. A chewy mouthful translating to Fist of the North Star Ultimate Handbook, History of the Centuries and Conqueror. Seikimatsu Hao Retsuden, which I'll be calling it for short, ranks most of the memorable Hokuto characters by assigning them 0 to 5 points in each of 5 categories, along with an overall letter grade. Those categories being Strength, Speed, Skills, Looks, and Charisma. We'll be taking a look at these as characters are introduced. Now, Spade has an E rank, and he has 1 in all 5 categories. The best you can say for him is that he doesn't have any zeros, but I believe he is the only antagonist that has no grades of, or no rankings of 2. So yeah, he's pretty much dog shit. For some reason, even though he is a named and somewhat significant character as Ken's first victim and one of 2 victims of the 100 Crackfist, Zeed does not get an entry in Seikimatsu Hao Retsuden. Mini-bosses like this usually aren't too much trouble to deal with. As you can see, he's pretty much a weaker version of Zeed with his 2 clubs.
これを村まで頼みます。
奴らキングだ。関東一円を制圧する凶暴な組織集団。まずいぜ。
これは種もみなんじゃ。今ある食料はいずれ消える。だが種もみさえあれば米ができる。そうすればもう食料を奪い合うこともない。争いもなくなる。今日より明日なんじゃ。
なんだよ。おい、まさか。
行こう、じいさん、お前の村へ。
たかが老いぼれ一人のために俺は理解に苦しむよ。
今日より明日、久しぶりに人間に会った気がする。
人間。
これで争いがなくなる。
もう食料の心配もせんでよくなった。
ありがとう。ありがとう。
これでたっぷりお礼がもらえそうだな。あら、ケン、行っちゃうのかよ。何考えてんだよ一体。
奴ら皆殺しにしてやる。
Let's see, did we get any more scrolls? Yes, we did. Another defense one. And it will line up with our previous defense one. So we could make a little nexus. Isn't that nice? Might as well save whenever we get the opportunity. Oh, we're in the middle of a mission, so we can't do that. Fair enough.
残念だったな。ジジイの村はもう手遅れ。てめえもすぐにあの世に送ってやるぜ。
Something else I should mention about Spade is that he got his very own spin-off manga, believe it or not, called Life is Offside. Life is Offside explores Spade's life before the bombs fell, in which he was a promising soccer player with dreams of going pro. However, then the nuclear apocalypse happened, and suddenly there wasn't any soccer anymore. And so he chose to make use of his athletic abilities to become a bandit. Sadly, to the best of my knowledge, Life is Offside has never been scanslated. If anyone knows to the contrary, I'd love to hear about it. But yeah, there's never been any official or unofficial translation of it to the best of my knowledge, so to my regret, all I have is that synopsis. I've never been able to read Life is Offside. This is true of a lot of the spin-off manga. Nope, still can't save. No worries. Thought I saw a shiny around here somewhere. There it is. We don't need to run back to the statue now. We can equip that later.
食料と水を奪え。裏の奴らは全員皆殺しだ。助けてくれ。
Another rescue mission. Fortunately, despite all the poking they just took, it doesn't seem like the villagers have taken too much damage yet. And I do see the other crate there. I'll take care of that in a moment. Don't really need that baguette, but because it seems like things do disappear now, I'll have to make use of it while I can. I shouldn't get too distracted by these dudes off to the side. One of the villagers there is almost already dead. Knock it off. Your quarrel is with me, gentlemen. Because I don't want things to drag on too long, and now that we've seen the debut of it in story, I'm gonna use 100 Crack Fist when it gets close enough for me to do so. Oh, and I see we lost a villager. And that's probably not gonna be a great ranking for us. Couple more regular dudes floating around, harassing these two villagers. So we'll take care of them and then worry about the boss. And there was a use of 100 Crack Fist. As you see, the red squares in the upper left corner have now gone down by 1. And that's how the super system works in a nutshell. Oh, and we've got him in a state of vital shock. It's kind of unnecessary here, but when you have an enemy in shock and you use a super on them, their health will just melt away.
ケン、あのじいさんが見当たらねえ。無事だといいんだけどな。
これだけは、これだけは。はあ、じいさん。あなたはこの種盛りだけは見ませた。欲しい。頼みます。来て。
貴様も地獄へ送ってやるぜ。
今日も生きる資格はない。
脳みそぶちまいて死にやがれ。
Over the course of the story, Kenshiro loses an amazing amount of shirts and leather jackets. Where he gets them all from is one of the great mysteries of Hokuto no Ken lore. And Spade is now being treated as a proper boss with his very own health meter at the bottom of the screen. Despite losing an eye, he's moving up in the world. Still not posing a tremendous threat, though. That's one of the tricky things about minions during boss fights. If you leave them alone too long and they get enough distance from you, they'll start firing crossbow bolts and throwing molotovs like crazy. That yellow glow and the whoosh sound there was Spade attempting to use one of his supers. As an early boss, that still wouldn't be a big deal, but it would be a little hurtier than his usual attacks. Haven't been successful in getting any shocks onto him, so we'll just go ahead and use up one of our 100 Crack Fists anyway. Won't do nearly as much damage as it would if I had managed to get him into shock first, but hey. No point in not using them, right? Do we have any treasures in the battlefield here? It does not appear we do. On the bright side, most of the minions are gone, and he doesn't seem able to regenerate them. Oh, spoke too soon. Yes, comboing into your supers is a very doable thing. There we go. I interrupted his little question mark thing, and now he's in a state of shock, which means this is going to be pretty ruinous.
の指を抜いてから3秒後お前は死ぬ。その3秒間自分の罪深さを思い知る。
いやだ、俺はまだ死にたくねえ、死にたくねえ、死ねたわ、死にたわ。
そんなところに撒いたって実るわけねえだろ。
実るさ。下にあの老人が眠っている。
So that last finishing move we used on Spade was the Hokuto Zankai Ken I mentioned, which is the special move you can do with R1. Three scrolls this time. 2 life, and 1 life, and spirit, I believe that is? We can now use the proffer and receive commands with our scrolls, which means we can store ones that are not active. This game absolutely bombards you with scrolls over the course of the game, so just managing inventory can be a little bit of a thing. Oh, and when we play as other characters, we can proffer the things to the scrolls to the Caryatid, and then other people can take them out. So that can be handy. Wow, look how much higher our defense is than everything else. It's because we have that defense nexus right there. And it looks like we can set up another nexus with the... Oh, no, I don't want to proffer that. We want to equip. And if we get a certain combination of scrolls, in a nexus format that does the 2, 3, 4, and 5 scroll at the same time there, I can speak. This will get you the ultimate nexus. I don't think I have ever actually done that. Maybe over the course of this playthrough we'll pull it off. Let's see. What else can we do here? Can't make any nexuses with the remaining scrolls we have, but we can get a little more spirit and health. And we've been playing for just around an hour, and we've defeated the first of King's henchmen, along with Zeed, so I think this is going to be a good time to hang it up for today. Well then, there's our introduction to the world of Fist of the North Star and the adventures of Kenshiro. I hope you're enjoying the trip so far. As I mentioned in the intro, it covers pretty much the entire run of the manga in Ken's Rage 2, with the exception of a few relatively minor story arcs. So once you've seen all of this LP, you'll have a pretty comprehensive overview of the Fist of the North Star story. Whether you're revisiting it or taking it in for the first time, I'm glad to have you along. Take care, everybody. This is signing off. Today's Ai wo Torimoto Se has been brought to you by Justin Carpenter, Nolden, Zangamarth, Anonymous Benefactor, John Madigan, Sanguine Games, Misha Van Doren, Frank Grizzy, Tim J, Lolo De Puzzlo, Joshua C. Ritchie, Jared C. Rice, Sonic Rose, EX Potemkin, Alicia Goranson, Mechasaurus, DG Jono, Doug Russell, August Fortnight, Patrick Bellinger, Jarogue, Martin Chowenmakers, Mayo the Hedgefox, Hildegard Argelmach, IGV, Jazel, Joseph Hall, Hot Mayo Sandwich, Dan Larson, Electric Keat, K. Ivan Rupert, Tiny Shopkeeper, Charlie Dunst, Kikoskia, Kobo4231, Alex Beyer, Yuka Takeuchi Fan, Chaotic Narrative, McCaffrey Crandall, Mystery Accent, Welcome, and other Yuwa shocking patrons. Much love and much gratitude to you all, and thanks also to all subscribers, all the good folks in the comment section, and everyone watching out there. Take care out there, everyone. Best to you and yours, and I'll see you real soon.